Holy priests use the power of the light and can even heal from beyond the grave to keep you guys alive. Let's look then in the War Within Season 1 how we are going to play as a Holy Priest. And I must say this is going to be a video that is fine for both beginners and veterans alike. I will be explaining quite a lot in here to make it beginner friendly, but also showing you everything you need to know so if you are a veteran, you are going to be absolutely fine for this and get all the info you need as well. Let's jump straight into it then, starting off with what stat priorities we're going to want. So as a priest, our main stat is going to be intellect. And the way we get this is by getting a higher and higher eye level of gear. Basically, do higher content, get better gear, you get more intellect. Here on the screen is the general secondary stat priority you want to follow. However, with that being said, you only really want to worry about that if you're looking at 2 items that are the same eye level. And considering it's the first season, we're going to be upgrading our gear so fast. Generally, just concentrate on getting a higher eye level and more intellect and you will be fine. After that, though, we do have our secondary stats, where Critical Strike increases the effectiveness of attacks and heals. Mastery is an interesting one. For Holy Priests, it's called Echo of Light, and every spec and class has a different one. For us then, Echo of Light means that our direct healing spells will heal for an additional amount over a few seconds. The more mastery we have, the more healing that Echo of Light will do. We have Versatility, increasing your damage and healing done, while also simultaneously reducing damage taken. And it's a really great all-round stat. Haste increases our attack speed and casting speed. Let's take Flash Heal here. The more haste I have, the quicker I'm going to be casting that spell. Then we are looking at the gear. Let's just have a look at what our set bonus in Season 1 of the War Within does. So the 2 set here, Serendipity, is 10% more effective, and the 4 set, Heal, Flash Heal, and Prayer of Healing have a 50% chance to cast again at a lower effectiveness, effectively giving us a chance to duplicate some of our spells and healing. Now, like I said, this is going to be beginner friendly. If you don't know what these spells are, don't worry, I'm going to be showing them all through with you shortly in this video and how we're going to play the class. So next up, we are going to talk about the utilities and some of the defensives that we have available to us as a priest. The ones I am going to be showing you are what I consider the most important ones. You could talent into other ones, etc. And there are bits and bobs that I may not talk through, but these are the ones that you really should know about going into the War Within. On the left-hand side of this action bar is things that you're doing to your enemy. And on the right-hand action bar, this is stuff that is impacting us and our allies. So starting off on the left then, we've got Psychic Scream here, which is basically going to fear our enemies and make them run away. We also have Mind Control, controlling a mind of up to 1 level above ours for 30 seconds. So if we're level 80, we can mind control up to level 81. Does not work versus demonic, undead, or mechanical beings. We can mind control them in really niche scenarios. This is going to be really, really useful for you. And then going on to the right-hand side, we've got over here, Purify, or sorry, show Dispel Magic and Purify Disease. This will remove a disease and or a magic effect on your allies. We also have Leap of Faith, which will pull your allies to you. Let's say they are standing in something, something's about to hit them. You can basically just pull them to safety. We have Power Word Fortitude, increasing our allies' health for an hour. This will work on us. We can cast it on people in the wild. We can cast it on our party and or raid members. Now, when you do use it on yourself, if you are in a party in a raid, it will cast it on everyone. We have Angelic Feathers, where you can place an angelic feather on the ground and you or any ally that steps over it will get a short speed boost with 3 charges of that. You can also make macros so that it will automatically place it at your feet and things like that. I do have a huge list of macros that I use on my Patreon account. Do sign up there if you would like to see those. And then on the bottom row, we've got Vampiric Embrace, filling you with the Embrace of Shadow Energy, causing you to heal a nearby ally for 50% of any single target shadow damage you deal. Just a great way of getting some healing back out of the damage we're going to be doing anyway. Desperate Prayer, really simply, is going to heal us for 33% of our maximum health over 10 seconds. So it's going to increase your maximum health by that for 10 seconds, but also heal you instantly for that. Lastly, we have Mass Dispel. Now, you can see here we've got Dispel Magic, and that'll work on obviously one person who we target on, but Master Spell is going to dispel effects in this huge area from up to 5 friendly targets, which is phenomenal. Let's say that all of the party you're in a Mythic Plus dungeon or PvP, Battleground, wherever you are, let's say that they all get afflicted by something. Well, you can just target this over them, and you can just take it off 5 people rather than just one, which is literally insane. And those are the main sort of defensives and utilities that we have available to us as a priest in Season 1 of The War Within. Now for the exciting bit, which is actually the kind of priority or rotation that we're following as a holy priest. Now, I want to preface this by saying we are going as Archon, as the raid talents. We are starting off with the raid talents here. And we will also be taking Archon in Mythic Plus, so you don't need to worry about changing your hero talents over for that. I will put both the raiding and Mythic Plus builds, however, in the description for you. So our first and top priority, so I'm going to do this as a what, when, why. What spells, when are we using them, why are we using them? We're going to use Prayer of Mending, and we're going to use this on cooldown. It's going to place a ward on an ally that heals them the next time they take damage and then jumps to another ally. Imagine that it just ping-pongs around when people take damage, and it's a very efficient spell. Then we have Circle of Healing. Heals the target and 5 injured allies within 30 yards of the target. And you can pretty much use this on cooldown. It's quite efficient. And then we have Holy Word Sanctify. We're going to be using this a lot in raiding. Releases miraculous light at a target location, healing up to 5 allies within 10 yards. Now, this is really interesting, right? You can see here it's got 2 charges. So I can use one charge, and I can use another charge, and they're all gone. But you notice the white text on the tooltip says the cooldown is reduced by 6 seconds when you use Prayer of Healing and Renew. So if I use Prayer of Healing a few times, you can actually see that the cooldown on my Holy Word Sanctify is really quickly coming off cooldown. Basically, the way it works is we have 2 charges of Sanctify, and doing AoE spells, well, Prayer of Healing and Renew, will reduce the cooldown of it. It's going to be the same for Serenity, but that's a single target version. That's going to heal an ally, one single ally, for a large amount. The cooldown is reduced when you use heal or flash heal. So it's a single target, big heal, and then the cooldown is reduced when you use either your heal, which is an efficient single target heal, or flash heal, which is a bit more of an emergency or quick heal. You can see there the cooldown massively reducing. And that's kind of the backbone of how Holy Priest works, is kind of using these 2 spells on cooldown and then managing your AoE and single target holy words and reducing their cooldowns. We also use Holy Nova here. So when I use it, this is going to do an explosion of holy light around you, dealing holy damage and healing to allies. So damage to enemies, healing to allies. But notice on my buffs up here, I've got something called Rhapsody. The damage of and healing of your next Holy Nova is increased. And can you see this is slowly going up and up and up? So when it is at max stacks or nearing max stacks, you do want to use your Holy Nova, as that will actually do quite a lot of healing at that point. But only when you're getting quite high stacks of Rhapsody. If you're not sure how many stacks to kind of do it after, I would say between 15 and 20 is going to be the point where you would like to use it. And then we're going to use, again, Holy Word Serenity if we're using single target. The way it kind of works of healing isn't that this is a priority list to follow, but more of a kind of what do we use in what situation. So always use these 2 on cooldown. If AoE people need healing, use Sanctify. If someone needs a lot of single target healing, use Serenity. And the stacks that you get from these aren't tied together. You can use 2 stacks from here and 2 stacks from here. Prayer of Healing is your basic kind of multi-target heal, and that'll, of course, reduce the cooldown on Sanctify. And then Heal and Flash Heal are kind of the single-target versions. Only really use Renew when you're on the move, as it's instant, and it's a hot or heal over time, but it can use a lot of mana, so you do want to be careful with that. Can you see behind my action bar here, there's a little wing coming up? That has made your Flash Heal. And that's from this talent over here, Surge of Light. Your healing spells have a chance to make your next flash heal instant and cost no mana, and it can stack twice. So when you see those wings coming up and your flash heal light up, you should use it, as that is what is causing that. We also have something here called Pontifex. This is a quite an important talent. Flash heal, heal, prayer of healing, and circle of healing. Increase the healing done by your next holy word spell, and that can stack up to 5 times. And of course, these are our holy words, our sanctify and our sanctify and serenity. And that's kind of pretty much how the main priority list works. So keeping these on cooldown, using Sanctify and Serenity, depending if there's AoE or single target healing, using your Holy Nova when you've got high stacks of Rhapsody, and then using these as kind of fillers to reduce the cooldowns on these 2 spells. What's really interesting is this huge cooldown called Salvation. Heals all allies within 46 yards and applies Renew and 2 stacks of Prayer of Mending to each of them. So this is our massive cooldown. Now, this is on a 12-minute cooldown, but this is kind of the next tier up with cooldown reductions. The cooldown is reduced by 15 seconds when you use your holy words. So you know how Prayer of Healing and Renew reduce the cooldown on Sanctify? When you use Sanctify, you're actually going to reduce the cooldown on your Salvation. When you use Serenity, you're also going to reduce the cooldown on Salvation, which is really interesting. So a few of your spells reduce the cooldowns on your holy words, and then your holy words actually reduce the cooldown on your salvation holy word. And they kind of all tie in together like that. We also have Divine Hymn, which is basically a big heal, and it's going to increase healing taken, and that's going to be a channeled spell, as you can see here. It doesn't do the most healing by itself, but where it really does do well is increasing the healing taken by people. So if everyone is taking a lot of damage, you can channel this to increase all of their healing taken, and therefore overall it is going to do a lot of healing, but not directly. It's more of an indirect effect. Then we have Halo. Now, usually it's not that crazy, but now with Archon talents, Halo is massive. Creates a ring of holy energy around you that quickly expands in a healing radius and then actually comes back. But can you see how it's kind of pulsating in and out, which is amazing? That is because of the Archon talents, which really revolve around Halo. And I'm going to be explaining that more in the hero talent section after we've looked through the full kind of rotations. The other one that I haven't mentioned is your Divine Word. The effectiveness of your next Holy Word, Serenity, Sanctify is increased and will grant you a corresponding Divine Favour. If you use Sanctify, it blesses the target area, healing up to 5 allies over 15 seconds. Or if it's Serenity for single target, Flash Heal, Heal and Renew, heal for 30% more and costs less mana. Generally, in a raid environment, I would use it with Sanctify, unless there's a lot of single target healing that needs to be done. But I would really say that it's more Mythic Plus based when you're going to be using it for Serenity. But of course, that is going to depend on the situation at hand. Another cooldown we do have is Guardian Spirit here, calling upon the Guardian Spirit to watch over the friendly target, increasing healing received by that target by 60%. If the target would have died, the spirit sacrifices itself instead and restores the target to 40% health. So it's basically a get out of jail free card for whoever you cast this on. If we now go into the Mythic Plus build, you'll see quite a few of the talents are changing. However, it's not changing too much in the fundamentals of how we are actually going to play the class. We are going to get Holy Word Chastise, which is a new spell, and we're not going to have Salvation, we're going to have Apophysis instead. So what does Holy Word Chastise do? It chastises the target for holy damage and incapacitates them for 4 seconds, and the cooldown is reduced when you cast Smite, because of course in Mythic Plus we often can be doing a bit of damage. So that's just a different Holy Word spell that can be useful depending on the situation in Mythic Plus. If you're wondering how we're going to be doing damage in Mythic Plus, if you can, as a healer, you don't have to. It's not a requirement. Some people like to. It depends if you've got a lot of downtime or not. So don't take this as like, oh my God, I have to. You know, some people might want to, some people might not. I would just use Holy Fire, which is like a dot and does holy damage. Smite, which will help reduce the cooldown of Chastise. And you can dot them up with damage over times on with Shadow Word Pain as well. That's all I'd really do. So the real changes here, we're still using Prayer of Mending on cooldown. You'll notice we don't have Circle of Healing. We actually do now have Power of Life. Oops, should have changed that out. So this is a holy word power that is going to heal the target for a large amount. Now, you'll notice I can't actually use it at the moment, and that is because it's only usable if the target is at 35% health. If they are at low health, this is a really high priority and will help you get them back up. After that, again, using Sanctify if you need to heal the entire group and they're stacked up. You can use your Holy Nova. If needed, it can do some damage and also healing. With high stacks of Rhapsody, this is still fine. For single target, use Serenity. We're not taking Prayer of Healing because there's only really 5 people, and there will be a lot more kind of single target healing in Mythic Plus. And then the same with Heal and Flash Heal, you're going to be using to reduce the cooldown of Serenity, which we will be using a lot more in Mythic Plus over your Sanctify. Using Halo a lot more, as we're going to be explaining in the hero talents to come. You can use Divine Hymn where needed, but it's a bit harder, in my opinion, to in Mythic Plus. And then Apophysis. It's not on a 12-minute cooldown, it's on a 2-minute cooldown. Gain a charge of your holy words and enter a pure holy form for 20 seconds, increasing the cooldown reductions of holy words by 300% and reducing their cost completely. So if I use my Sanctify here, when I then use Renew, can you see it's massive? If I use Serenity, you can see that when I use my... Oh, we've come out of it. That's a shame. I was too slow. But basically, when you use your Flash Heal, you can see it's coming off cooldown a little bit. This will be like a whole third of that cooldown reduction when you use Flash Heal in Apophysis. The cooldown reductions on your holy words will be humongous, basically. And that really is the only changes we will be making for Mythic Plus. Again, Halo is really, really important because of the hero talents we are taking. And you know what? I'm going to explain them now for you. So in this build, we are going with the Archon talent for hero priests, holy priests. Oh my God. It basically revolves around a lot of our Halo. Casting Halo, so we get Power Surge. Casting Halo also causes you to create a Halo around you at 100% effectiveness every 5 seconds for 10 seconds. Additionally, the radius of Halo is increased. Your healing done is increased, while Apophysis is active for 20 seconds after you cast Holy Word Salvation. Then I like to go for Shock Pulse. Halo damage reduces enemy movement speed, stacking up to 5 times, which is fantastic. You can then go 2 ways: energy compression, where Halo damage and healing is increased, or sustained potency. Creating a Halo extends the duration of Apophysis. If Apophysis is not active, up to 6 seconds are stored for the next time you do, which is fantastic. You don't have to worry too much about that then. Resonant Energy, allies healed by your Halo receive 2% increased healing from you, and that can stack as well. Word of Supremacy, where Powerful Fortitude is an additional 5% stamina. Concentrated Infusion, power infusion effects are granting you an additional 10% haste. Creating a Halo grants Surge of Light, so another free spell. Empowered Surges increases the healing done by Flash Heals affected by Surge Light by 30%. So you get free ones, and then the actual Flash Heals you do with them are then empowered even more. We've got Energy Cycle. Consuming Surge of Light reduces the cooldown of Sanctify, which I love. This is fantastic at getting us through those Sanctify casts. And then lastly, Divine Halo. Halo now centers around you and returns to you after it reaches its maximum distance, like a boomerang, healing allies and damaging enemies each time it passes through them, which is great. The only issue I see with this is if you want to use Archon in Mythic Plus. Anything else like raiding, arena, PvP, it's going to be fine. But in Mythic Plus, I'm like, oh my God, Archon is scary because... The Halo, you know, I've played with Halo in Mythic Plus before in previous expansions, and let me tell you, like, it is pulling things left, right, and center. But unless you're, you know, if you're not doing that, then you're all good, pretty much. Archon is really, really nice, and I've always found Halo a bit lackluster, so it's a really cool way to build this around it. I really do like it. For the consumables in the War Within, things have changed a bit, including the enchants. So first up, you now have Nerubian Gem Weavers. This is how you add sockets from the Great Vault each week to your gear, and we can do this on the head, wrist, and waist. Another thing that's changed is we can now have an extra 2 sockets on our rings and neck, so we can add these with magnificent jeweler settings. You can see here 2 on the neck and 2 on each ring. Looking at the actual enchants we're going to use, we've got Chant of Winged Grace, giving avoidance and minus fall damage percentage on the cloak. The chest is Crystalline Radiance, giving intellect. Armored Avoidance on the wrist, giving avoidance. Sunset Spell Thread gives intellect and stamina on the legs. Scout's March gives movement speed. It's 250, I think. And then haste. Or you could put haste on here. You could put crit on here. Depends what you really need. I would say to go to haste on the ring enchants. But if you're at a very high eye level and you're really starting to min-max and, simulate your character, etc., then maybe actually a secondary stat would be better. So I'll leave that one up to you. For the... what are they called? Consumables. It's too early for this, guys. I've finished at like 8 a.m. or something, or 7 a.m. Flask of Tempered Aggression, Feast of the Divine Day, that's just going to purely add intellect. You can also go for Tempered Versatility. That's probably the best all-round one for everyone, actually. Mana Potion, if you need it, if you're healing in as a priest. Otherwise, use the Tempered Potion if you're in Shadow. Algari Healing Potion is obviously a healing potion. Algari Mana Oil is something you can actually now add on your weapon to add crit and haste. Crystallized Augment Rune to add a little bit of intellect. And then looking at the Culminating Blasphemite, this is really interesting. So it's going to add intellect, but it's also going to add a 0.15% critical effect to your character if you use different gems. And you want to use an emerald, an onyx, a sapphire, and a ruby. Again, sim your character to see which ones would be most preferential, or just go with what I've got here. And basically that means then that each of these different colors is going to give 0.15 effect on your crits. So if you only have rubies, it's only going to give 0.15. But if you have one of each color, it's actually going to give up to 0.60% effect on critical strikes. Don't use amber though, just use these 4 colors that I have shown you here. Thank you so much for watching this guide. I hope it was really useful for you in The War Within Season 1, whether it was for Mythic Plus or raiding. If you do have any questions, I'll be happy to help. My Patreon is in the description below, and that is where you can find my LVUI profiles, which I'll show you in a second. And also, I'm putting together a huge macro list for every single spec that's going to be really useful for you in The War Within as well. I am doing all classes and specs for The War Within, so if you are new to the channel, then please do click this playlist here to check out what else I have, which is all of them. There will also be PvP guides on this channel as well for War Within Season 1, so make sure to look out for that. This here is the UI that I was referring to. As you can see, we've got target frames, etc., left and right, and raid frames go in the middle here, and then weak auras in the middle with an action bar down here. Chat is behind where my camera is. Minimap and details, etc., are here on the right. All of the plater profiles, the voodoo, the LVUI, etc., details profile has all been made by me. And again, you can get this on my Patreon should you like it.